requires you to be able to input the data that you want. Of course, it has a few layout principles as we talked earlier. And one of the principles is that it gives us the ability to be able to visualize the data, but it's restricted in such a way that the type of visualization that you choose, you have to have data that is corresponding to that kind of visualization for it to be able to communicate the information. So really that is just like a building block for the tool, in that if you want to do a line chart, you have to have data that corresponds to a line chart. For example, you should have 2 dimensions, you should have an axis there for representing the data and another one for the time. So really, as long as the data aligns to the structure that is used by the template, you are good to go and you can be able to do your visualization in quite an easy way and at a very short time. So you're going to have we are going to do some practical work, but before I do that, I just want to make 2 comments. And the first comment I would like to make is that for those of us who have computers there, who are following the class using a computer, you can be able to open the page, the link, and I hope that we have all managed to create our accounts. So we are going to follow, because I think it's much easier for you to be able to understand what you are doing if you are following it practically instead of just listening to the lecture. But for those who have their phones, they can just be able to follow along. We're also going to provide the recording for you're going to share the recording for the class so that you can be able to go through it at your own pace at a later time and be able to ensure that you can be able to pick out the information that is being presented. Another comment that I would like to make is that I would like to share with us something which is their YouTube channel. And the reason I'm doing that at the beginning of the class is so that it gives us the perspective of how much information you can be able to process using this tool. And the importance of that is that to highlight the fact that 2 classes are never enough to be able to do a training of a comprehensive tool like this. But I give you the introduction, the peek into the tool, and then the library, sort of quote unquote online library that you can be able to explore and be able to check the things that you can be able to customize to your own fitting. I'm just going to share my screen. I'm just going to okay. Apologies, it seems like downstairs from where I'm working from, it seems like they're repairing some cars there, so there's a lot of background noise. But I really hope that they can be able to follow along the class. So the reason I shared this tool, this link, just going to put in the chat box, is that it gives us the ability to really be able to. It really gives us the ability to be able to really understand the scope to which that we can be able to see how much content is there from this tool. So you see that here we have something called Flourish breaks, and these are sort of snippet trainings that the organization provides that explain a specific part of the tool so that they can be able to cover each tool in depth. So when you add this to the resources that they are provided on the website, as we had seen the other time, you can be able to really understand that the tool is quite wide, and it really gives a good explanation of how you can be able to customize your visualization. So here you find that it has quite a lot of content. So you can be able to see that this has 41 lessons. First one, the second one that teaches about data structures. The next one talks about a Sankey diagram, then hierarchy, successful Flourish tips and tricks, survey, data visualization best practices, scatter plots, cards templates, and also quite another 2 other things that you can be able to visualize. So the reason I've provided that is it gives us the ability to be able to really understand how much you can be able to learn from this tool and how much you can be able to really apply the content that you provided for us. So now we are going to start the class, the examples. So today we are going to look at 4 things. The first one we are going to look at is a line chart. I know we did the introduction of the line chart in the other class. But what we are going to do now is really be able to really have an in-depth look at it. And then from there, we are going to look at a racing bar chart. And the reason I decided to select the examples that I have is to give us an understanding of at least for two-dimensional charts, we have the line chart. For three-dimensional charts or motion graphics, we have the racing bar chart. And then we are going to look at a map and how you can be able to customize them up to be able to represent the data that you want to communicate to your audience. And then we are going to look at a flood story, which is a sort of a way for you to be able to put together all that data. And like the multiple visualizations that you have, you can be able to really put them together into one class, into like one presentation, so to speak. So for those who are following the data, I'm just going to use direct examples. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make them editable, so to speak. So the first one is, these are examples that I have done previously for some work for the Firehead now, but I can be able to use the data because it's freely available and they're available in the website. So what I've done is I've just made a copy of the visualization so that I want us to walk through how can be customized it into the visualization that you want. So you see that the tool has several features, and this is the editable part. And remember that the way we were able to access the tool, let me just maybe just do a quick on that. Remember that we had reached this part the last time we were in the class, and we had, of course, for those who have the account, you need to be able to sign in to be able to access the visualizations. So the way we were doing that is these are the examples of the content I had made for my various projects and various work I've been able to do. And the way we can be able to move, this is like the introductory page. So it gives you the ability to be able to really move through, like, create a new story, create a new visualization, and it gives you like a sort of library for all the data, for all the work that I've already presented. So if you want to create the new chart, you can be able to say new visualization. And then, of course, remember we said that you can be able to choose from a myriad of visualizations. Maybe we can just go through that. And then we can be able to start with the examples. So you see here, once you want to create a visualization, it asks you to choose a template. And the reason they do that is it gives you the ability to really be able to understand, like, the kind of visualization you want, how it's going to be laid out. So that, for example, if you want a line chart, it gives you an example of how a line chart will look like, gives you an example of how a projection map would look like. I'm just going to go through this in a sort of a quick manner. So the templates, of course, are also grouped in such a way that they're not haphazardly randomly organized, but they are grouped into subgroups and subclasses that enable you to be able to move quickly between the template and the data that you want to visualize. So you can be able to see that the first one gives you a line, bar, and pie charts. So these are basic types of chart, single, column, and grid. So you see your starting points, you have bar charts, you have grid of donuts, you have charts, grid of columns, all those kind of examples. Then you have a projection maps, which is an example that makes you able to make data maps. You can differentiate this kind of points set up an existing example or upload your own geographic file. We're going to look at that as one of the examples. Scatter plot. So remember that in the introductory class that we did, we looked at how you can be able to apply each of these visualizations. So we looked at how what kind of data you need to be able to use a scatter plot that is that's appropriate, for you to be able to use a line chart, for you to be able to use a projection map. We looked at all that, all those kind of examples, and the recordings are available for you to be able to follow through. You see, we have a scatter plots. Then we have all the examples, scatter plots. Then we have 3D maps. So maps for displaying regions, lines, and points with optional time slider. Hierarchy. Remember, we studied how you can go to apply hierarchy. Line chart trace, then a radar chart, compare entities across multiple metrics, the radar or spider charts, star charts, and radar bar graphs, bar charts, and then make a bar chart trace, and of course a few other things. So this just gives you the example of what you need to be able to use, and I think we already studied that. What we are going to do is we are going to start with a line chart, and I've just adopted the example, and then I just made a copy of it so that I can be able to use it to be able to do the explanations. So remember that we said for a line chart, what we are doing is we are graphing a data story over time. So what we have is that we have data points, and it's a continuous thing. So like across a time span. So you find that for this example, for this data, you only need 2 or 3 line charts, 2 or 3 data points or data columns. And what that does is that, of course, remember that we say that this is how you can structure the data for a line chart. So here we have the first column, which is explained here as a label and time. So which is a column of names or times. So here you have the data points. So you have the years. Then of course it's a compulsory column for you to be able to have the line chart visualized. And then we have the values that we want to visualize. So the first column gives you the ability to be able to really structure the data, the time span that you want to study the point. So Adao, kindly mute yourself. We are hearing some background noise from your side. And also Bida, you can be able to mute yourself. Okay. We can continue now. So remember that we said that, of course, now from this point for the data on the the right hand side of the tool, you have the data, and then of course you can be able. So once you have the column of names and time, then now you have the values that you want to visualize. So which is this is one or more columns of numbers. And of course, a few other things, so chart grids. Then you specified and grid of chart view is on, create a separate mini chart for each value found in a column. Then the row filter, the information for custom pop-ups. So what we have is the row filter. Remember here we said that we have the rows, one or more columns. So you can be able to really actually apply a filter to be able to visualize the data, but we're going to look at that. So of course, now you have selected the columns, and then if you select the columns, this is going to be the output. I know it has quite a lot of information, so we are going to sort of work backwards on it, and then we can be able to see how to be able to go about it. So the chart type, I remember that we said the chart you cannot select here, but I want you guys to remember to check something, to notice something. The chart type that I have available here is only those examples that were available here on the template. So you see here, line by and charts. So if I want to be able to look to select the chart type, I can only be able to have an option from the specific category. So remember that. So you see that for this part, they cannot be able to, for example, have something like a scatter plot because it is not part of this sort of sub of the template that we have. So remember that part. So in case, for example, if you want to make a visualization using, let's say, a different data type, a different chart type, remember that you have to be able to really consider that factor. So you might need to be able to, let's say, make a new visualization from the start, from how we started, like make a new visualization, then input in the data and then all that. So that you can, so that when you come here and you find something like a scatter plot or a resting bar chart, you know that it's not part of the subcategory of the chart types that we had selected. So here we have two things. We have the modes. So really that's kind of like the categorical part. So grid of charts, create a mini chart for each series or each value in a column. So if I choose like a single chart, I only have a one chart here. But if I have a grid of charts, you see, we are able to split the data, so to speak, using grid of charts. So this is particularly useful, especially if you want to highlight data that has, let's say, for example, different variables. And then, of course, let's say, for example, if one is very large and one is very small, you can be able to customize your grid of charts and how to access to be able to have separate. So it's really helpful to be able to understand that you can be able to do that. Let's keep with a single chart. The height mode, aspect ratio, standard, and auto. You see, if you move through them, you can be able to see the chart adjusting accordingly. That's the chart type. And then we go to controls and filters. So the importance of controls and filters is, for example, if you have a lot of data that you want to represent. So let's say, for example, if you have like, for example, like 10 graphs, like 10 data points. So let's say if you have like a lot of data points. So for example, if we have election, like, so for example, if we had, as an example, content, let's say, for example, like the one we did for wind production at the beginning. So let's say we have data for, let's say, like 100 countries or 20 countries or a large number of countries that is going to make the visualization pattern. The reason, the importance of having this filter is it gives you the ability to be able to really zoom in, so to speak, or to be able to pick out how, let's say, for example, one or two countries compare. So if you turn it off, of course, you see it disappears up here. But then if I have single select, I can be, so single select means I can only be able to select one variable at a time. And the variable, by that I mean from this drop down. So once I activate the series filter, this filter is going to be activated. See? So the importance of single select is you can be able to only select one at a time. See, I'll not be able to, let's say, for example, select several of them. But then there's a small customization that you can be able to do. If you want to see all the visualizations together, you activate this icon called all. But if I put it off, I can only be able to see the subcategories without all the categories put together. So you really need to understand that you can be able to be able, so that it's a very important part to have, so that you can be able to see all the visualizations, especially if they are not a lot. You can be able to really have them included, the icon for all included and turned on. But then there is now this other part for multiple select. For multiple select, you can be able to activate in such a way that you see here we have single select, multiple select. So for multiple select, we have no more results, no more series to show. So you see, so let's say, for example, if I have let me just add some data here. It's a graduated. I want us to be able to, so let's say here, 1,000, just picking random numbers, but these are for this other data for B and C, that's actually actual numbers. I'm just going to put randomly like that. So here we have, let's say 8,700. I want to explain that part for multiple select. Here we have 10,000. And here we have 2,000. And here we can have 30,000. So remember that this part, I only have two visualization, because remember that here we say that the values that we want are only for B and C. But if I put D here, you see automatically the third line should be able to see, automatically can be able to see. And because there is something I had done here. You see here it says maximum series to select, maximum series to show. If I have this activated to, that means if I already have two values are being shown, I cannot be able to add a third one. But if I say, let's say here 5, see automatically I can be able to select as many as possible. I wanted to highlight that. Of course, if I put, let's say, so for example, if I have like all, so let's say if I have like 10 options, I can be able to put here to have 11 to ensure that I will be able to cover all the visualizations. But if I have a single select, I'm able to have all, or at least each of them separately using from the filter. And then, so you can also be able to rename the filter. So let's say all variables. See, I can be able to have a custom name for the icon for all. So if I select that, you see it's showing you that it's including all. And also be able to say different, just to highlight that you can be able to have different names for the same. Let's unselect. Okay, just wanted to highlight something here. Also for the controls, you can be able to actually edit how this control will look like. So control types, see, can be able to edit how the control will look like. So you can also be able to do a few other controls up here. Advanced, of course, you can be able to change the background color. You see automatically it adds the select option display. You see, the name is automatically added up here. So it gives you the ability to be able to see how we can be able to visualize the control. So the importance of this control type is, for example, this one kind of does a sort of a quote unquote clip the visualization, but then here you can be able to see that you can be able to have the options to go to click, or you can use a drop down menu up here, and to see that the control title is renamed, so you can be able to customize it in such a way that you can be able to also select the kind of videos that you want to use. we see that the drop down can be able to adjust. See, if you put full, comes up the end. You put fixed, I can be able to adjust the way you see, can be able to adjust how much is going to display. And for the auto, is customers like that. So that's as far as the control filters is concerned. Of course, you can also be able to change the control size, normal, bold, and be able to change the text size. Usage. And like the height and stuff like that. Also, you can also be able to do better customization and the button style, the drop-down style. And then, of course, the text calendar, other things. That's it for the controls and the filters. Then the colors. For the colors, also you can be able to explain. You can be able to customize the color palette and be able to. So you can be able to do two things. You can be able to use the drop down and select the one that you want, or you can be able to put just the colors, the custom overrides down here. So this is quite okay. It's not really complicated, but you really have to understand to be able to highlight the colors down here. So let's say if I have, let's say this one, I want you guys to notice something, that the number of color palettes that will be displayed here, not color palettes, but the number of colors is ordered in such a way that if I have only two variables here, the first two colors are the ones that are going to be displayed. But if I have three, the first three are going to be displayed. So you can only be able to cover, let's say, up to this line if you have all those numbers selected there. So you see, so I have red, green, red, blue, green, red, blue. Also be able to edit the color palette and customize it in such a way that you can be able to choose the colors that you can actually be able to order. But if you do not customize it, how the colors are displayed here is how the visualizations are going to be displayed here. You see, column 1, column 2, column 3, these are the colors that will be displayed. So it's important that you guys understand that you can actually be able to edit the color. So if I want to select, I have this one, just select it. And also be able to adjust how it's going to appear. Then you can be able to really, and also be able to add, let's say if you have many colors, you can be able to remove the colors, and also be able to move it up and down. See, you can be able to move it up and down. So let's say, for example, if I do not want those colors, let me just use one that is more visible. Let's say this one. So if I want to adjust the colors, I can be able to reorder how these colors are going to appear. So let's say, for example, instead of having green, I can have pink. We are the first one. You see, automatically it's going to be adjusted to this also for the visualization. This is very helpful, especially if you're that person who is very sensitive, let's say, for example, in the design and the color and all that. And especially also if you are customizing the visualization according to the theme colors of the organization. This is a very helpful way for you to be able to understand that, can be able to do that. So that's it for the colors. Then the lines, dots, and areas, and be able to change the width, the opacity, and then the line curve. It's going to go through a few things. So you can be able to change the width of the line. You can make it bigger, because it's going to be much more. It depends on the visualization you are making, of course. But you can have it at 0.1, or actually at 0. Okay. 0.1 is the most appropriate one. You can also be able to change the opacity. The opacity is the transparency of the color. So transparency. So like if you have it at 0.1, it's going to be barely visible. At 0, of course, it's not visible. But the opacity shows you how opaque that color is going to be. I don't think transparency is the right color. Opaqueness. The opaqueness is actually the right word. So how opaque it is, you can be able to customize. So the more the number of the opacity, the more opaque and the more visible the line is going to be. And the line curve, of course, a straight curve, natural step 4, the straight, then curve, then curve natural, according to how the data is. Then step. See how you can be able to really alter how it's going to be. And step before, then step after. So really you can be able to really customize the line and make it look okay. Really, I don't know whether you can say more fancy, but you can be able to really find out, like, to be able to really customize how you will need it. I prefer that one personally. So you can also be able to make for missing data points, can be able to really cover it, or can be able to have gaps. So the reason that there are no gaps on this line is because there are no missing data points. So for example, if we have, let's say, some data points here that are missing. Okay. So let's have this one. Missing data points. So you see, we have a gap for this because this data point was missing. But if we have a continuous line, it's just going to have a line, but the point is not going to be highlighted. So it's also important for you to, for example, if you have a large amount of data, and then maybe you have some missing values and you did not see it during the data cleaning process, it's going to really be able to show you that if you have this icon activated. See, the line breaks. See, so now we have 2 lines. So you can also be able to shade between lines. So which lines to shade? So you see this icon here with a question mark gives us the ability to really be able to see which series we need to be able to shade. So you can specify each area as a pair of line names separated by double columns. For example, series A and series B. You can optionally add a specific color and opacity for each area. So the area to shade, the color, and then the opacity. So let's do an example. So we here series A. So let's just let's just get these titles and just add them here. Makes it quite easy for us. Then here, number who passed. Who passed. And then let's change the color here. Make it more transparent, more dark. It's not being created, but you can actually be able to share between those lines. And then of course the dots. The dots are these markers. You can put them off. You can be able to put them on. You're able to change how transparent they are. You can also be able to change their radius and make it bigger or smaller depending on what you want to highlight. Then dot scale, and then you can actually make them follow. So it really gives you the ability to be able to really do quite a lot of customizations for your line chart. You can make them smaller and smaller. You can be able to increase their size. Then the labels. So you can be able to have labels for the lines. So if you put the labels off, so I want us guys to understand something. The importance of having line labels is that it takes away the need for you to be able to have a legend. Because if you have the purpose of a legend is to be able to explain the representation of what each line stands for. But we have the label, the line labels activated. There's really no need for you to be able to have a legend. It's actually much more advisable to be able to use the line, the labels as opposed to having as opposed to having a label, and not a label, a legend. You can also be able to customize, be able to have maximum label width, you can have the distance, you can have the vertical padding, and be able to spread out overlaps and other things. So spread out overlaps. So since this one is overlapping, and then if you do not spread it out, it's going to really cover the other one. And also be able to reduce their size or increase them. See? And be able to reduce the distance between the visualization, the actual line and the label. See, can be able to really pull it out, so to speak, and be able to pull it away or towards the line that you are labeling. You can also be able to hide overlaps as required by the context of visualization that you are making. So really that gives you the ability to be able to really do quite a lot of customizations for your work. The x-axis, we already studied that, and be able to have it at the top or at the bottom. Can also be able to hide it, so this is not there at all. Then float up or float down, but it's usually example, and be able to have it at the bottom. Also be able to have maximum and minimum. So this is a bit of like advanced feature that you can be able to really study and from the examples from the library that I had shared, because it gives you the ability to be able to display minimum and maximum visualization that you want. So if let's say, for example, if you have minimum date, maximum date, can be to customize it there. Is at the bottom. Then the y-axis, same features. Axis hidden or not hidden. Can be able to have the minimum and the maximum. In the plot background, remember we said that you can be able to have the plot background, but it's not advisable to usually have it, so just put it off like that. Because we said that the plot background, what it does is it really draws the attention of the view of the visualization away from the actual data that you want to visualize. So it's usually advisable not to have it, and be able to also customize the color that you want from all these options. So you can be able to make as many it as possible, but you see it completely messes up the visualization, so to speak. See, it really takes out a lot of attention. So it's usually advisable not to have it at all, unless when it's necessary. Number and date formatting, that is auto. It's usually advisable to put it on auto, so that the application can be able to automatically detect the kind of data that you have, and it's going to appropriately allocate the format. And the legend, remember we say that you can be able to put it on or off, but we say that if you have the labels of the lines, you need to be able to put it up because this is a duplication, so to speak. Can be able to change its alignment, so left alignment, center, or right. Then you can be able to make it bold or normal, but other things. Pop-ups. So pop-ups is the data that I will show when you click on the data points. So you can be able to disable it. So you see, even if I click on this, nothing is going to pop up. But if I have it enabled and I look at that particular data point, I do not have to keep going like to the data and all that. And I do not have to have the data points labeled. Because if I have if I have the labels activated for the data points, so it's going to make the visualization very cluttered. And so it's usually advisable to just turn off the data points, but then activate this part for pop-ups, so that when I click at a particular point, I can be able to see what it actually stands for. See? And be able to see what it actually stands for. Then annotations. Annotations is quite a very interesting part. So I really want us to dwell a little bit on it. So annotations is you can be able to show highlights of that particular point. So you can be able to do it, of course, free annotations visible in story mode only, but then you can be able to show highlights on the x-axis and the y-axis. So let's say, for example, I want to show highlights for the x-axis. I activate that. So line highlights. So one per line in this format. So remember that you have to actually really understand this format that you want. So what this question mark means is it gives you the explanation for what you can be able to do with the highlight. So you can optionally also specify a color using the format. By visualizing containing a grid of many charts, you can also apply the annotation on only a specific chart type using this format. So let's say for the years, let's check which years are there. So let's have 2018. So let's say we have. So I'm just guessing when the peace agreement was done. Then and double columns. Then here I have 2018. You see, it gives you the ability to be able to have this line. Then for the line, you can be able to really customize how you want it to look like. And so let's say we want it, so you see the label here, it's vertical, but I can be able to remove it and make it horizontal. I can put it at the top or the bottom. And then I can also be able to choose which side it will be on, you see. So that's for the x-axis. For the y-axis, I can put at the bottom or randomly at the middle, or I can do it at the top. And also be able to put it on top of the line or the left, to the right or to the left, as long as I have deactivated this part for vertical. But for vertical, it's going to be vertically displayed like that. And of course, you can also be able to change the positions. It's usually advisable not to make it vertical, but to make it horizontal. Also be able to adjust the texture. See the line. Then of course the area, the color, and all that kind of stuff, and be able to adjust. So let's adjust, let's say for example the color. See the color is automatically adjusted. And then another thing, so that's for the line, and you see these are line highlights on the x-axis. But you can also be able to arrange highlights. So if you want to specify a space, to highlight a specific period, time period, you can be able to really have so one per line in this format. And of course, you can be able to see up to other things that I explained there. So as long as you have used this format, you can be able to have, so let's say, so 2015 and 2016. So okay, we can have, let's say, transition. I'm just guessing these timelines. You see, automatically it's detected up here. Then of course you can be able to change the color and the opacity. So the more transparent it is, the better. But also be careful so that you do not cover your visualization. So let's make it a bit bigger. Let's put 2018. See, you can be able to adjust and cover as much area as you want. And change the transparency, make it slightly a bit darker. You can be able to change the color. So for an orange, let's say, or a yellow one. It's more yellow. C can be able to really adjust that. So that really shows us the power that the tool can provide for us. I know my time is really going, but I really wanted to cover a few of those things, especially the annotations, because they are very, very important part that you can be able to use to be able to explain a story in a much more dramatic way, so to speak. Well, really not dramatic, but you can be able to use it to be able to explain the specifications of the data that you want. Also be able to change the area texture. See the area texture is adjusting accordingly. Actually be able to have the circles. Then if we adjust more transparent, more dark, and be able to see how visible it is. See, you can be able to change the texture. So this is compact, lines, grids, then circles. But it's usually advisable to make it as less visible as possible, then to be able to ensure that the highlight is very clearly explained. So you can remove the shadow, and then let's say you can have maximum width, you can be able to adjust. Just want to have a small number of content and be able to adjust at the maximum accordingly. Okay, font size, make it bigger or smaller, and font weight, regular or bold. So you can really be able to do quite a lot of customization for your tool. The color of how it will appear and have a shadow in it or not. So you can be able to do quite a lot of customizations for that part. And then also for the axis, for the y-axis, you can be able to also do the same. Let me just copy this. And then, of course, now I'm going to adjust the data. So here I have 25,000 to 20,000 to 5,000. Then here we have average. Then of course, so you should be able to press arrows for the line. So let's put at the very top. Let me just put it for the area. Just put it for the area. See, automatically it's going to be detected. So really the importance of things like this is really be able to help you customize the data in the way that you want to visualize it. Be able to change the color according to how you want to be displayed. Then of course you can be able to put in the explanations for how, like, you see up here it says average. Okay, so average student. See, and be able to adjust it accordingly and put it at the middle, at the end. Be able to put it at the middle or at the bottom. That shows you just the power of the tool and how much you can be able to really visualize the work that you want to visualize. The animations, the layouts. The animations are animation duration in milliseconds or transitions. For example, between two slides in a story. So that's very helpful for the short story part. Then the layout, the main font, the background color and stuff like that. Then the headers and the footers, we already studied that. So really that just shows us how much customization can be able to make on the line chart. Then once, let's say, for example, you have already determined how much that you are that your work is complete. You have already edited it into the way you want. Remember, we said that you can export and publish. So publish to share and embed, or can be able to download HTML, or can be able to download an image. So let's say publish to share and embed. Then of course the link is going to be automatically detected here for us to be able to see how we can be able to have the visualization the way that we decide. So you see, even if it's just one part, C can be able to just move through how the content is, and be able to move between the filters and the number of students, like for example, who suffer for the exam and those who graduate and those who pass, or can be able to see all those variables highlighted. And you see that we have average number, average student number, and then the transition and the disagreement. So really shows us how we can be able to customize the tool, the visualization that we want to really make. So that marks the end for the line charts. And I just wanted to highlight those things so that because they're quite helpful in customizing visualization. So I don't know if people have questions. I know my time is quite spent, so for the next two visualizations, I'm going to really try and be a bit faster, and we're going to look at the story. So any questions on the line charts? Any questions? So you can unmute and ask your question. Any questions?
Yeah, I didn't quite understand the part of animations there, Steve.
The animations part?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to look at that. Any other question? Okay, to answer that, for the part for the animations, the reason I kind of skipped that is that this is only quite applicable, especially if you are doing the Flourish story. And that is because that is why I was really able to just skip this. So because here you see here it says the duration in milliseconds of transitions, for example, between two slides in a story. So this is just like a transition part, and it's helpful in the way that it gives us the ability to be able to transition between the slides. So that's why I do not dwell a lot on this, because it's really helpful for the story part. Any other question? Okay, so I think I'm going to proceed now to our recent bar chart. We are not going to take a break because time is quite spent and we have some other items we need to cover. So I'm just going to go straight to our recent bar chart. So you see, I already have an example. I want you guys to notice a few things. So what our recent bar chart does is it gives you the ability to animate the change over time. Line chart, we were just seeing that highlighted for, so for example, for the one for the results, we're just seeing the, but then a recent bar chart, what it does is it highlights the change over time that is. So that is really the difference between for the line charts. And you can be able to access the recent bar chart is here. This is the templates. So you have decided that you're going to do the visualization. So just go back on that. And then you come to new visualization. The recent bar chart can be able to access at the bottom towards the end here. So you have three options. You can have a bar chart trace. So use this template to visualize the changing fortunes of people or groups in a competition with each other over time. Then column chart. Create a racing column chart that compares the changing fortunes of people or groups in competition with each other over time. And then the image chart, images with captions. So create captions that will appear in front of your racing series at specified times. So that's how we're able to access that part. But I want to use this example because it's a bit more customized in terms of the. It's a bit more customized in terms of how it's in terms of the data that we are representing. It's not the template example that is shown when we choose the example from the template. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate it here using this icon, so that we can be able to really see how we were able to visualize it. So it gives me a confirmation message that's required. Then say duplicate. So you see here, this is a duplicate for duplicate. It says copy of copy. Then the highlights. So the data that I have here is quite messed up. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the example directly from here. I mean, just from my account here. It's going to search African. So let me just get it here. African leaders published. African leaders just follow us from 2020 to 2021. So what this does is giving me an example, not really an example, but a change of how the followers are changing over time. So you see that the numbers are changing. Then of course it keeps adjusting depending on the position. I'm just going to look at the data first. So the data has several, quite a number of columns. Remember that here we can go to adjust. So we have the name of the leader. We have the image. So the image is the image that's going to be represented in here. What we have is a representation, like a link. I just got directly from the flag for each country. And the reason I use the country instead of, let's say, the president, for example, is it really helps, especially if somebody is not very well informed on, like, some random countries, random African countries on the presidents and all that, can be able to see that here I'm giving the name of the president, then inside here I'm giving the flag color. It really helps to explain more. Then of course now we have the change that we are going to visualize. So here we have the columns. You can be able to customize the columns. There are 4 options. Of course, the first one is a label. Remember, we said a column containing names of the bus, the names of the bus, which countries or people. See, that's why these names are the ones that are highlighted here. And then we have the values that we are representing. So from C to O. And then for the categories, how we want the color to be selected. So it's an optional, it's not a required category. Then of course for the image, optional column with URLs. Remember this, it's a URL, it's a link. That's why it was having all these options. That's why it's quite a long image URL, because we only have the ability to be able to use URLs for the image. Just copy the URL of the image and then you paste it there, and it's going to display the image. So that's how you select the data. Then of course you can be able to customize. I know I'm going to take some time to be able to explain the customization. The first one is, remember that we said this is a selected template. So we have selected a bar chart trace. So we can be able to have a setup and be able to have horizontal or vertical. So vertical is the change like that. Then horizontal, the change like that. Then you can be able to have the sorting. So do you want it to be random or do you want it to be sorted? So for sorted or random, random is how the data is organized here. So you see Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Emmerson Mnangagwa, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. You see those are the names that are highlighted here. But if we have the sorting really now gives us the ability to be able to sort in ascending or descending order, depending on how we want to display it. See, descending order, ascending order, or can be able to put it off. Off is random, and it's going to display how the data is organized. Sorting, can we show advanced settings? I don't think that is really necessary. And then these are two things I really want to explain them. The number of bars to display. Remember here, we have data for so many African presidents. Have 40 variables. We have 40 because the first column of course has been taken by the labels. But then we can be able to customize how many bars are going to be displayed. Do you want 20? Do you want 10? So if I put 10 here, it's only going to give me 10 bars. So you see, if I have only the last 10, the least followed 10, or the most followed 10, and be able to customize it the way you want. And of course, you can be able to adjust the spacing between the bars. So you see, the spacing is highlighted as much as you want it. But then what that does is it really reduces the size of the bars. So let's just have this one as let's select 10. We have 10 bars. So we already checked so that we can be able to sort it. The colors you can be able to adjust, but this is quite just like the way we already did it. You can be able to get the color palette. That's the same as, but you can also be able to have a single color. So that is very important to highlight. So you can, and you see here that says by category, and be able to also have that, or by bar, or a single color. So that does not require a lot of explanations. And then the labels in axis. See label on bars, image in axis, label in axis, image on bars. See, and be able to put the bar labels in the maximum size. And be able to adjust how big you want your labels to be, depending on the amount of content that you are representing. For the standard is one. The images. So for the images, you can be able to adjust the appearance of the images. And you have to change the height, the width, and the margin to the right. And you can be able to change the image sizing and the shape. You can be able to have either a circle or a rectangle. See, automatically it adjusts. Doris, okay. And just it accordingly. And be able to fit or stretch or fill and be able to choose the way that you want it to be. Of course, you can be able to reduce the height, make it smaller, or you can also be able to reduce the width. Well, let's just put here, let's say 8. See, it makes it quite compressed, and be able to, let's say, adjust here the height and make it a bit longer. Let's say if I have 120 here, it's going to be quite long. You can be able to change how the image will appear. Circle, just depending on how you want it to appear. Then the counter and totalizer. So this is a special feature for this particular tool. And what it does is the counting that's at the bottom. Let me just try and see if I can be able to see the example. this was this data was submitted. But when we export and publish, the counter and the timer, I just want to highlight that part. So this counter and totalizer is what is going to be displayed down here. So you see here we have the time highlighted. The time that is moving through the slider is highlighted here. And of course, you can show the totals. So this is helpful, especially if we have accumulative content. Should be able to display. It should be able to display. I should be able to display the totals that we are actually running. Oh, this was not because I had not put in the icon like that. Sit down here, you should be able to show us the totals. You should be able to display the totals. See, the totals are running down here. Oh, the size was the one that's not shown, that was not customized. But that is only helpful only if you are doing data that is cumulative, but in this context, we do not need to have it. So of course, you can be able to adjust the line height and the line color and captions. So alignment, the opacity, and a few other things. So really what it does is it gives you the ability to be able to provide the change over time for a particular thing that you want to visualize. Of course, things like the header and the footer, they are just like the ones that we have done before. We have to put it at the middle or aligned to the right. And we have to change the size, change the font color, change the size of the font, and change the type. So you can make it regular, bold, and you have to set the space above and be able to change the size. So that is really how you can be able to adjust the specific visual that you have. So once you are done, you just export and publish. Then you're going to have your visualization customers like that. You want to do a pause. You want to do a pause and be able to really see how the change was recorded for that particular instance over the time that you had selected the time frame. So really that's it for the line chart. I see my time is quite going. So I want to do one more thing before we can be able to move to the last part of the class. So I know I've moved quite fast on this, but the reason I have done that is because the customization is not quite a lot, and it's quite self-explanatory in terms
Steve,
of as long as
Steve, we are not seeing your screen, please.
you're not seeing my screen.
I'm not seeing the screen. Nothing is on the screen.
So what time did the screen disappear?
I think about 5 minutes ago.
A long time. Okay. So did you guys see like how I was able to put in the timers? These counters? Hello?
You saw that one?
No, I didn't see.
Yeah. Okay. let me just do it again. So for that one, you come to this part that says counter and totalizer. So this is a special feature for this particular tool, for this particular visualization, because it gives you the ability to do a cumulative display for a specific instance for the time that you are using to visualize. So what it does is you can be able to, it gives you two things. It shows you the ability to be able to show the current time, which is this time that is displayed here, and then the totals, the one that's being displayed down here. So if you activate the current time, you can be able to adjust its size accordingly. That is not, of course, occupying a lot of space, but it should be visible. And be able to change its color, because choosing from the palette that you have. And also be able to change the line height, make it bigger or make it smaller, depending on how you want it to appear. Then for showing totals, you see down here, we have the totals. So what it does is it does a cumulative total for that particular instance, for that particular time that we are having. Can we adjust its size or increase it, depending on how you want? Can we go to change the color from all these palettes, all these options that you have? Let's switch to more green. And so can you see it? And of course, can be able to have your label. So just see totals. You see, we have the label, the totals here. Then we export and publish. We're going to have the totals being explained. Since that if you put in the name, it's going to tamper with how the. Okay, you do not need to have the totals, the labels, because it will automatically be able to detect that we are summing the content that we are displaying here. So that's it. The time captions, of course, we'll also look at that. The controls, so show sort control, so highest and lowest, it's just for sorting. Then the legend, enable it. Disable it. And we will add data colors to header and caption text. That's just for the legend. The axis. So remember, so notice something. That this one has only one axis. We don't have the X and the Y axis. We only have the Y axis, which is the one that we are displaying here for the names. So that's why here we have the labels, a column containing the names, and then you can be able to just select how it will be displayed. So guys, let's make sure that we sign in, because the attendance has been posted in there. The annotations, then the timing and animations enabled and disabled. Can be able to go through quite a lot of examples for this, quite a lot of customizations for the lecture. But because of time, I'm just going to end it there, unless if people have specific questions. For the link that I had shared, we have quite a lot of content and information for each specific tool. I really encourage each of us to make sure that we can be able to go through that and ensure that you can be able to really understand how each particular visualization is customized according to the features that you want to display. Any question? So I'm just going to go through one for the maps. Then we're going to do a short story. So for the maps, I'm just going to use example 2 that I had done for AFCON 2022 group stage participants. This I did when the AFCONs were going at the beginning of this year. So this is the data. So for the maps, remember how we were able to access each of them. Remember how we were able to access each of them? How we were able to access each visualization? Just sign in. Okay, so we have new visualization. And then down here we have our starting points. So what I did is I just took a starting point for Africa, like this one. So what I did is I was just able to take this starting point, it's a projection map, and then I customize it. So I'm just going to look at the one that is customized. So this is the one that's customized, this is the preview. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the map for Africa and then customizing, like displaying which countries are participating in the AFCON 2022, and then shading each country according to the group color, to the group that it's participating in. So this is the data. So remember that this is quite a way like customization of how this particular visualization looks like. So instead of us having, because you notice that for the rest of the visualizations, what we had is we were only showing the what's it called? We're only having one sheet, so to speak. But this one has 3 sheets. So one for regions, one for points, one for lines. So for the regions, we have the geometry, the formal. So all this data is inbuilt, except of course this one that I wanted to display because I was shading the countries. So I am the one who added this particular column, but the rest are just automatically detected by the application. And then the points, latitudes for the cities. Remember that here we had the cities, so these points that are highlighted here. Remember that you can do, so what is highlighting is the capital cities for the countries. So here for Uganda, Kampala, we have Kigali, we have Bujumbura. So what it does is, this is also inbuilt for the points. So we have the city, we have the latitude and the longitude. This is of course automatically inbuilt like that. And the lines is geometry and the type. And that is determined by the application also. So for the regions, this is what I included on this. That's why I added this column here, because what I want to shade is the countries. Like I want to shade the region, the specific point. So what the region does is it explains the country, the geometry, how it looks like, the formal name, then the normal name that's being used. Because it not have people calling, let's say, for example, let's say Egypt, we do not have people going around saying Arab Republic of Egypt. We have Egypt. For Eritrea, we don't have people going around saying state of Eritrea. We only have saying Eritrea. So that's why there's the difference between the formal name and the name. And of course, we have ISO code, World Bank code, and a few other contents. Then regions, Africa, Middle East, and North Africa can be able to see the customization. It's like that. So what I did is, of course, this is automatic for the geometry, for the name, then the values. So for the values is the only one that I added. So I decided to, because I want to visualize how the values is what I want to display. The other ones are just setting like sort of the canvas on top of which the display is going to be visualized. So for the canvas, I do not tamper with the points, the regions, and the lines, but the regions I add one column, and then I use that column that I added to be able to shade these regions. You see, so we have to. So if there is a label, it's going to be shaded. Bida, kindly enable me to share the screen? My apologies, it seems like my internet had dropped for a minute or so. I think now we can continue. So remember that we said that the way to be able to shade these colors is just introduce one column that you want to use for the shadings, and then of course customize it according to how you want it to be displayed. So you see now, for like what I did is for the group names for those countries that were participating in AFCON, I put each group name according to how it's organized. Then those that are not participants, I just put just left it blank. That's why it's displaying like that. So for the projection is how we want the map to look like. So we can have auto, world, or advanced. So if I have a world, you see it's going to tamper with my visualization because it's going to display other things. If I have auto, it's just going to display the one for Africa. Then I can be able to change the projection, adjust it according to how I want it to display. So I can be able to have Albert's, see, Albert's USA. And be able to have August azimuthal equidistant, but I usually like to use the X4. That's 5, yes. So I can be able to include lines data. So it's because there's a few countries that apparently the lines are included there. So we just disable it and make it visible like that. That's for the projection regions layer, enabled or disabled. So remember something here. You see, this data had these layers. So we have the regions, we have the points, and we have the lines. So if we want, we can be able to disable each of them. So if I disable the regions layer, it's not going to display anything. Also be able to show the outlines or not. And of course, I can be able to adjust the color of the outline. And I can also be able to display the opacity, you see, and make it dark or less transparent like that, depending on how I want it to appear. Then points layer, I can disable it, and the maps are going to disappear. Like not the maps, the capital cities going to disappear. Then I can be able to reduce or increase their sizes. You see, I can be able to increase their sizes. Then fill opacity. We to change the color, and we also be able to adjust the stroke width. This is reduce as possible. Okay. Their stroke opacity can be able to have custom stroke and be able to customize it accordingly. That's for the points layer. Base default scale on all columns or current column. Also be able to change adjust the lines color. So you can be able to put it above. Then change its color. Just get a different color. And of course, adjust these colors like that. Perfect highlights. And be able to adjust it according to how you want it to be displayed. Then the globe and gunning layers, enable it, going to have the layers like that, see the color. So you really can be able to do quite a lot of customizations for your data. For the visualization that you want to have. The pop-ups, the controls, pop-ups and panels. So the pop-ups is that information that will display here. So Bida kindly send the link again. So the pop-ups is that information that will display when you highlight when you highlight for each country. So Algeria, AFCON Group E, but then Libya is blank because it's not a participant. We can have Cameroon, AFCON Group A. So can be able to adjust the custom content. Write your column names in between double curly brackets, display dynamic content, or can we just be able to have it automatically detected? The alignment, maximum width. It really shows you how much you can be able to customize your so for the search box, you see this appears, number search for points. So remember the points are for the capital cities. So we have here Nairobi, even you can have Juba. You see it's going to highlight where Juba is. You can also be able to highlight for the countries, then Senegal. See, it's going to be able to highlight Senegal. So you can disable that, not need to really have that. And the legend, show region color legend, and be able to enable it or disable it. But it's advisable. Okay, you can be able to include it, or you can be able to not include it, depending on how well you want the information to be displayed or displayed. Then you can be able to have the zoom animation seconds. Can be able to customize, enable, disable animation duration in seconds. Just have 5 seconds. Hold the zoom key. Zoom. So that is when you are displaying the. So like when you export and publish, that's when you can be able to have the zoom key displayed. Let's just have a look at that. See how that's how it's going to look like when we have the publishing. So it really just shows you that you can be able to really customize your work. So you can have the header as normal. So automatically included there. Can be able to change the position, and you see it goes with the legend. Because you cannot have one left line and then the other ones at the bicycle right. And of course for the footer. So I just want to highlight something here for the footer. Is what you can do is remember that you can be able to have the source names in 2 ways. You can be able to have just the source name alone, and then of course, if we have the source name alone, this part is not going to have any underlinement. Like it's not going to be underlined. But if we have, let's say, for example, we have the source URL. You can just put this one here, and then by export and publish, remember that it's going to have the line included in there. You see, it will change down here so that you can actually be able to click on that. Be able to click on that link. See, the link is active. It takes you straight to that to the link that you have included there. I just wanted to highlight that because it's a very important part. When you include for the source URL, it's going to really change this name. Of course, you can make it whatever you want it to be. So here we have source website. Let's just say here. Let's just say website. But remember that this is the link that we have included here. So even if I export and publish it, what is going to be displayed is the name, or this is just the link of what we have highlighted there. Just the link that we have used there. The name is not going to matter that you have included here, the source name. But the source URL is the one that's going to be underlined like that. Then the logo, and enable it or disable it, and be able to put in the image, the link, and be able to upload an image from your computer or from wherever you have stored your images. Let's say, for example, examples are quite many, so you don't actually need to be able to include it, but you can be able to go and try out your image to be able to include the logo. So you can be able to have the borders at the top and the bottom. Of course, you can be able to make a few adjustments on the color and a few other things. That just shows you the amount of customization that you can be able to really include in your work, and to really customize it and make it quite attractive and make it look very well in terms of how you want it to appear to your audience. So that's it for the image, for the map projection. I know we might have some questions, but the questions are really answered in terms of like the content that I have said at the beginning. Or what you can do is you can be able to inbox me, you can be able to go through the questions because of time. Like in case if you have any questions, you can put it on the group, on the WhatsApp group. Then I'm going to put an explanation there in case it will need to be highlighted the examples.
Yes.
I'm just going to look at one more thing so that we can be able to wrap up this training for Flourish. And the last part I want to highlight for the next 12 minutes that are remaining is a Flourish story. And what a Flourish story does is you can be able to put together all your content, all your visualizations in one template, in one link, so to speak, so that you can have a step-by-step progression. I'm just going to get this for this part. So for Flourish the Studio, it's this part that says new story. So remember, this is the account when you log in. This is how it will look like. So I want to have a new story. So if I click new story, so there are two ways you can be able to actually access that. So a story is an animated presentation of one or more visualizations. You can be able to access it from the account when you log in, or you can be able to convert one. You can be able to make the visualization that you have into one story. So you can be able to say create a story. So create a story with this visualization. Automatically, it's going to convert it into a story. It's going to have quite a lot of things. I'm just going to go through like the three visualizations we have done today for the examples. I'm just going to put all of them together into the story, and then we are going to see how we can be able to do that. So remember that this template for the story has several things. First, the names. So class example. So the name can be able to be as long as you want it to be, as long as, of course, it does not go beyond as long as it's not outrageously long, and be able to have it according to how you want it to be customized. So what this does is it gives you three options, three templates. You can be able to export and publish your story, and be able to view it, and also be able to add current slides. So it's displaying the current slide, which is the slide that we had selected, from which we had decided to make the visualization. You can be able, so it's just like PowerPoint presentation, so to speak. Then you can be able to do a customization. So let me just add a new slide down here at the bottom left-hand corner. You can be able to create new blank slide, or you can be able to duplicate the slide that you want, that you have. So let's add a new slide. Then this new slide gives me two options. I can be able to choose a visualization, or I can be able to get a basic slide. So a basic slide is just like how the blank slide looks like in the class, not really in the class, but in Google Sheets or Google Sheets or Google Slides. So we have If you choose a normal slide, you're going to get this and be able to add the caption, can be able to add the title, subtitle, text, and then the custom image, which is available from the site, from the example, or you can be able to add your own image. So you can be able to add the image that you want. You can also be able to have a video displayed here, which is this animated part. You see, you can really be able to do quite a lot using the example, using this or like using the Flourish story. So let's just add the video there. So let's just put in a title. Okay, example. Subtitle. So let's just have this 3. Then here we have it. Start and right now. Okay, let's just put it like that. Okay, so we can add a new slide down here. So remember that the way we added the video is we took the blank slide and then we added an image. It's just do it again like that so that we can have the image. So we can just make it italic and then not bold. So you can have the subtitle to say here, check this out. And then let's say we are done with how we want it to be customized. So let's have a new slide. Then choose the visualization. Okay, let's choose the one that we had done for the leaders. And then you can keep adding as many slides as we want. You can choose another one. Then we can have this. Okay, fine, proceed now because of time. So you see, you can be able to go through all your visualizations here and be able to move up and down. And then we can be able to export, and publish, which you're going to do at the end. So you can be able to add captions here, which is an explanation for. So this slide explains the results over the years. For the specified time period. You can write quite a lot of content here. This is called space down here. Also be able to adjust it and be able to make it bold, italic, or actually include a link, depending on how you want it to be displayed. So that's the first. Okay, this is the first slide. So let's say here Africa. Say participants. So let's say it was 1, 5, 7, 4. Okay, and just put it like that. See how fun is because it's sort of typing error, but we want it to be displayed like that. And then the slide, the video we had included, then the image, and then the recent bar chart, and then the one for the results. So what this does is you can be able to have a navigation style as default, or can be able to have old or none. So let's just keep it at default for now and do an autoplay. So what autoplay does is it gives you several options. Number one, it includes this icon here for stop and play. It also gives you the ability to change the duration for each slide. You see here, you could not have autoplay. That option is not displayed here for the timer. You see, can only be able to duplicate or delete. But if you put autoplay on, you can be able to adjust the time for each slide. And the way you adjust that is up here. Let's just have, let's say, like 5 or 6. And this one we can have, or because it's a clip, can have 7. We can have 7. This one, because it's just an image, and only have, let's say, like 2. Can be able to adjust how you want each of them to be. And you see the timer is separate. You can be able to adjust the timer for each slide. And then what you can do is you can be able to add an audio to your story. So let's just add an audio here. So let's just add this. It's a Maasai song, but you can just be able to put it for the example. You see, it's adding the audio. So let's say we are satisfied with how we want the story to be. So what you can do is you can be able to go through each slide and view it how you want it to be. And then once you are done with doing the example, you can actually be able to export and publish, share, and embed. I just want us to look at how it will look like before we finish the class. So you see, automatically we have the first slide, we have the explanation, we have the display. We can be able to. So that's how it's going to be displayed. Okay. Now the audio is a bit weird, but I think we got the point. So really that's how you can be able to customize. And you see now here we have all the slides being represented, and it's all on one link. So that is it for Float Story. In case if you have any questions, okay, I wanted to explain one more thing before we finish. Okay, one more thing. Especially for the static graphs. You see this icon here, you can be able to add a few things. So let's say labels. So select an annotation or create a new one by clicking where you want, by clicking anywhere in the visualization. So let's just click it. Let's say here. You can be able to. So let's say here, just picking a random name, flags. So the way you can be able to add is, as long as the icon is activated here, you can be able to add it. Then of course you can be able to do a few things to it and be able to always show it, or show it only on computer or on phone. And be able to have the marker type. See? And have none. Then you can be able to show the connector type, or it can be able to have none. Then of course you can be able to adjust a few other things. I just wanted to highlight that icon because of time. Okay, let's just have the line or a direct sort of message thing. Okay, and also be able to have the marker labels, the marker radius. Advanced features can change how you want the text to look. Is it bold or normal weight? Can be able to change the size. So let's just reduce it. And then the position. Put at the top. You can be able to do quite a lot of adjustments, just like the rest of the examples that we were highlighting. Let's just push at the left. And of course, the colors, can be able to get them, can be able to have, let's say that color, and then no fill, can have that. So that really that highlights for us what can be able to really do for the visualization. Then once you're done, just click that, then it's going to can be able to delete it if you want, can be able to adjust quite a lot of things. So really, this just highlights the power of the tool to be able to really give us as much content and the ability to be able to customize the data as much as we want. As long as we are, of course, within the parameters of the basics of our visualizations, the colors and all that, that really just shows us that we can be able to highlight what we have done. Let me just play the clip one more time. I just disable that sound. See, really gives us the ability to be able to go through the visualization with that. So instead of selecting like a visualization that gives you like so many highlights, that gives you like, so instead of like visualizing so many things and then providing like 4 or 5 links, you can just be able to have a float story, and you should be able to explain the content depending on how you want it to be. That marks the end of my class. And let's see if people have questions. Unless if people have questions, I think that covers as much as we could be able to do within the time frame that was allowed for us. And I have really thoroughly enjoyed working with you guys. Thank you for the cooperation. Available in case if you guys will need like more classes and stuff like that, you can always be able to contact me through the group, or you can be able to get my number or my email and be able to communicate with me according to like the request and the specific thing that you want to highlight. So thank you guys very much for all the participants, and also for the organization for organizing a training like this that really empowers the people who are working in our various countries to be able to really help us achieve the targets and the goals that we have set out for our various countries. So I really wish you guys all the very best. Let's make sure that we practice as much as possible, because you can only be able to achieve all this if you practice. But if you do not, if you just attend the trainings just for the sake of attending the trainings, and then you do not apply it in your day-to-day work, I don't think it's going to really add any value. But it will be amazing if we see in your social media platforms, you guys using, let's say, fact-checking or using Flourish to be able to do your visualizations, doing your presentations and all that. It will be really, really impactful for the organization and for your individual lives. So I thank you guys very much for your participation and for your cooperation. And I really look forward to seeing us again on other platforms. And it was amazing seeing you guys.